Hi, friendly friends. I'm your friendly friend, host Eric, friend of the people, and host of Talking with Trans People. Tonight, we're talking about community. Yes, community. We're actually talking about community in a few different ways tonight. Not just one way, multiple ways. One kind of community I want to talk about is the community of my whereby rooms. That's whereby.com/TWFP1 or /TWFP2. These are places for fun and laughter, places where you can hang out and chat with wonderful other intuitives. A wonderful, wonderful way to live, learn, laugh, and love. What I want to talk about today, though, in more general terms, is what it means to be part of a community and how, in a lot of ways, I never was part of a community prior to talking with trans people. I was part of teams at times. I had been definitely was familiar with being on a team. But it's not quite the same thing as a community. A team is a group that's you just joined together under a specific purpose or a specific frame that means when the members of that team are together, they're always operating under that frame, that their attention is on a shared purpose. That's not the case with a community. A community members sometimes form opposing teams without forsaking the reality that they're still part of the same community. And additionally, I should say, we've been watching the show Community on Hulu. Watched multiple episodes of it today with Rachel. It's pretty good. I like it. I enjoy it. It's a nice show. It's a sweet show. It's sweet like fake maple syrup. Of course, when we talk about the community around here, we refer to generally one of two distinct communities. Now, I just have a little moss on my left hand fingers, nails. It's grown there over time. When we talk about community around here, we're referring to one of two communities. Community number one is the MBTI community at large. That means a group of MBTI YouTubers, including myself, Flow State, CS Joseph, Eric Thor, Megan Lavoda, Dave Superpowers, Benjamin Sadek, and assorted others. That's the larger MBTI community on YouTube. And all the people who participate in their live streams or comment on their videos or Eric, I think I should become an MBTI YouTuber and develop the field of esoteric cognition. I think what you should call it is esoteric blatherings. That's an important skill, an important field. Armchair philosophy. That's what I do mostly, is armchair philosophy. Everybody knows that real philosophy is done not in armchairs, but in wheelchairs. Not in wheelchairs, but in pilot seats. Hand line reading functions and cognitive poopology. Those are important subsets of personality, I agree. Tonight's topic is community. I did watch the show today, and that's part of why the title is Community. But the main reason is because I was talking to Lightbulb a little while ago, and we've got the rooms back. So they've been sort of seized by wherebuy.com under suspicion of some kind of abuse or whatever. But it's as Lightbulb speculates, I think it has something to do with the fact that they didn't anticipate their rooms being used as I use them, as like a meeting place for members of another community to just throw up whenever they feel like it, But of course, that's how it's structured to be used. But I guess when it gets crowded in there and a lot of people start to try to join a room, then you get a lot of this room is full, this room is full, this room is full. And that triggers something in their system. Of course, there's an email chain where I talked to them before about these rooms and when they were stolen from me by the Spite Monkeys, or by James specifically, I should say. Look, the thing is, the rooms have momentum of their own outside of me. We're not talking about the TV show Community, although I did watch multiple episodes of it today, and I like the show. It's a sweet show. But I'm actually talking about the wherebuy.com rooms. So in case you don't know about them or haven't heard about them or whatever, there's apparently some people in at least one of them right now. So the thing is, it's an interesting phenomenon. I've been ready to let go of those rooms on multiple occasions and just say, you know what, this is too much trouble. Fuck these things. Back when it was the Raw room, back when we lost the ability to automatically record and upload to YouTube due to changes in YouTube and other things like that. I was ready to just throw them in the trash heap of history. But the rooms are not me. And just because I started them doesn't mean that it only matters what I think about them. And the fact is, there have always been groups of people who enjoy being in the rooms who have pressed upon me that it's important for them to persist. And so still they persist. And a lot of times they're empty, and then sometimes they're totally full. It really depends on the time of day, and the day. You trust your instincts? So it's interesting because yeah, I'm badly in need of a haircut for sure. I could really use one. I'm beginning to look like that guy with the hair that goes up on both sides. Anyway, so I love the fact that there's this robustness to this thing that I'm part of, independent of me, that causes aspects that I may not use. I haven't been in those rooms in ages, but it's because mostly I think that when they cease being recorded, it ceased to be archived, and therefore I don't normally want to spend my time doing stuff that I doesn't have at least some sort of archival footprint. But I'm also learning over time that simply archiving my random talkings with people about stuff or other people's random talkings is not necessarily producing any objective particular value. Now, granted, it may be of value to the individual parties who've been archived. So for people who participated in the Raw Room 2 before YouTube changed and I had to shut that whole auto record and publish thing down. Well, there's a record of them. There's a record of those conversations dating back to the beginning of Raw Room 2 and for all the stretch of times where that room was recorded. So in 10 years, somebody can look back and see a conversation they had 10 years ago with somebody on the internet. It became a gaming channel. Yeah, that's just not going to happen. I find I can't really play games anymore, computer games. They don't entertain me. Countess does indeed run a little roughshod. Let's put it that way. I think that's the best way to put it. Countess can run a little roughshod. And in the process, she's probably incurring some bad feelings. I've never been on a TV show before, no. The only TV show I'm on is the internet television program called Talking with Famous People. It's an internet television program of which I'm the host. My name's Host Eric. Taylor Van Amberg. Yo, what's up, squad? Not a whole hell of a lot is the answer to that question. Let's talking about community. Some of the challenges of being part of a community. And yeah, I'm the 6'4" skinny Danny DeVito. So, I mean, my point is, like, being a part of a community, one thing to note is that there is a difference in being the guy on camera versus not the guy on camera. So, yeah, I should make that. I have made that, but I should make it again. There's a difference, and it's something that I had to almost learn that is real, because I'm so natively egalitarian that it's hard for me to remember. It used to be hard for me to remember that sometimes what I say carries more weight than what other people say, even if I sort of inherently think it ought not. That we ought not weight what is said by who says it. That might be kind of a principle that I like to uphold, but that doesn't mean that I can ignore the reality of things. Let's see what's going on here. Waldo Ludowski says, hey, Countess won. I don't see Countess anywhere. Does anybody else see Countess? Strong, important people carry more weight. It's just a fact. Well, what I would say about that is that so a lot of times people will come to me as an arbiter of things, and so it's like, or I'll feel the need to step up and arbitrate something. If people are getting too nasty with each other in the chat or something, I might be inclined to say something or whatever. I didn't say Countess did anything wrong. I'm not busting Countess's chops. I am not busting her chops. I just said she can run a little roughshod, and she can. Now, that's not the same thing as saying she did something wrong. It is acknowledging that there's she's more effie thorny than say Zandy. Nobody has a problem with Zandy, right? But being effie thorny is not a bad thing. It's just a distinction. Okay. I will point out, however, that Countess has definitely crossed some lines plenty of times. And if one were to wish to articulate a litany of of line crossings to justify some sort of harsh status that one has conferred upon her, that would be probably defensible. But I like to, in general, afford people lots of mistake tolerance. I don't know if Countess does a very good job of acknowledging when she's made mistakes. So there may be, maybe the growth is limited somewhat by that. But regardless, I'm with Winston's mom. What Winston's mom what Winston's mom says, I agree with completely there. And it's also the case that I probably have a higher threshold for what comprises bullying than Winston's mom does. So that about sums it up. See, that's the tricky thing about being in a community, and especially the guy who's holding the reins on the narrative, which is to say the guy talking on the microphone, me. I always want to be fair in my assessment of things, and it's easy to be moved one direction or another direction by some people's perspectives or not, and it depends on how well those perspectives are stated. So Winston's mom is stating a perspective that's very well stated. I can agree with everything in that statement. That implies that she doesn't like Countess when Countess is bullying somebody, but it doesn't actually say that. She just says she likes Countess, she's fond of Countess, and that as a general rule, she doesn't like someone when they're bullying someone else. So I can agree with every aspect of that. Now, it's also the case that I can infer from there that there are instances where Winston's mom does think that Countess bullies people. I think she even said it explicitly above there. I think there are instances where Countess is caught up in her FI and being mean because she's feeling hurt and resentful. And I think that there are instances when she's not being fair in her accounting of things. And also instances where she's blaming people who ought not be blamed. There are times when she's blaming me for not siding with her, for example, and expecting people to split into camps of loyalty when that's not a fair expectation in circumstances like this, because it's not, I mean, it's not that sort of matter, I guess. What is the purpose for the torch? Well, the torch ignites things with fire. Things like this, bong rip. Well, I know she felt I was being biased, but there's no way that I could have not sided with her completely in which she wouldn't have felt as though I was being biased, because she genuinely was being biased. I was looking for some sort of way to de-escalate, I guess. While at the same time being fair about the whole thing. But she was in the heat of battle. And so I understand that people say and do things. I understand that people say and do things in the heat of battle that they often wouldn't say or do in other circumstances. I typically do not. No, it just came up as a subject here. I very rarely do or say things in the heat of battle that I wouldn't do or say not in the heat of battle. I just do or say them in a more emotionally expressive way. But most people are susceptible to doing or saying things in the heat of the moment. that they wouldn't otherwise do or say, and that they probably regret. Now, whether or not they express that regret and make an effort to be accountable is going to have something to do with how comfortable they are in their being and et cetera, But I mean, so it's interesting. I don't know what's going on with Countess. That's true, Angantir. I should have timed out both. And the reason is the reason is because I made what ultimately I made a sort of general move towards peace a priority over fair application of the rules. And okay, well, Octavio Silva, the thing is, again, we all make mistakes, right? So I should have timed them both out. But it's not because they both equally deserved to be timed out. I think it's fair to say she deserved it more than he did. But it's because I know that she's susceptible to feeling treated unfairly. And so I got to be extra cautious in making sure that that I apply rules, not standards. Now, this is a little bit of a frustration for me because in general, I prefer to apply standards, not rules. I trust my discretion. But if you've got somebody who's determined if you got somebody who's difficult, you've got to make sure that no, David White, doesn't work like that. It totally doesn't work like that, David White. That's not my style. I don't roll like that. I position myself as somebody who's fair and who is about being objective. I position myself as somebody who says, let's prioritize freedom of expression over people's feelings. Let's prioritize letting somebody talk more and risk them saying too much or saying the wrong kind of things over shutting them down. And let's prioritize in general mistake tolerance and forgiveness and welcome back instead of, that's it, you're banned. Now, that doesn't change the fact that there are some people whom I call spite monkeys for whom I will simply ban them. And that's what I talk about discretion. I know Countess does not come here ill-intentioned towards me or the channel trying to do harm. She's just a bit of a loose cannon, And I respect loose cannonhood. I don't try to kill loose cannons. I understand that sometimes people get feisty, people get upset. I do too sometimes, I just tend to, ain't no big deal, right? So you're a troll and I've been kind. Well, you haven't trolled me yet. I mean, I anticipate it when you came in, possibly you were. I wasn't sure, but what I found in general is whenever you engage somebody directly as a human being and treat them as you would anybody else, and assume they're dealing with you honestly, that they tend to rise to the occasion. That's not always the case. There are spite monkeys. The spite monkeys come in and they're clear on their position about me, and it's not changing. In other words, they don't like me a lot. They want to do me harm. It doesn't matter what I say or what I do or anything. Their position on me doesn't change. So, yeah, Winston's mom, in general, I think that kind of comment is unacceptable too. I don't like any kind of critiques about physical stuff or any of that stuff that you said there. I'm totally with you on that. It's not cool.
Below the belt kind of thing?
Yeah, below the belt kind of stuff. So,
conflict, strife. Is this going on?
No, I mean, I don't think so. We're talking about the subject.
No, that's what I mean.
We're not actually engaging in it right now, but yeah, we're talking about conflict.
Right. That's what I mean.
And the other thing is I recognize is that people are not, they don't fit neatly into any given box. They just don't. In other words, there are times when I'm going to some place and commenting or chatting on a live stream when I'm trolling, and most of the time I'm not. And, sometimes I'm being pissy and fighty, and most of the time I'm not. And it's like we all have periods of time where we're expressing a more optimal version of ourselves and periods of time where we're expressing a less optimal version. Right now, I'm feeling pretty optimal. I'm feeling great. It's like Rachel and I are good. That's the number one thing to make me feel. As long as Rachel and I are good, I have a basic comfort about things,
Me too.
So.
You smell good.
Thanks, darling.
You're welcome.
And when I am in a more optimized state, I tend to try to actively be promoting what I consider, I guess, the good of being nuanced. It's like it's really easy in life, in general, to attack the unnuanced as though it were itself a way of being good, like, well, it's those damn whatever is one way of being unnuanced. So then you simply attack the unnuanced and go, people who are unnuanced in this way are bad. Well, that's just another way of being unnuanced. The point is, if you say like, well, there are some things, Eric, that are cut and dry. Who's right, who's wrong? Is it the pro-lifers or the pro-choicers? Well, the answer is it's either, the problem is that we're not talking about it correctly. That whatever we decide about that, it has to account for the fact that the thing inside the woman has to be treated either as a person or as property, one of the two things. And our current situation treats it as neither. And that's why we have this continuing debate over the matter, because we don't know how to talk about it properly. Okay, if everyone's convinced that we should treat those things as property up to a certain point, fine. But then they have to incur the consequences of that. And that means that, for example, a woman won't be able to abort until they get the permission of the male. And that's because it's shared property. It doesn't matter if it's in her body or his, it's still shared property, mutual work product. So, you can't have it both ways, one way or the other way. That's it. Yeah, it's titles community here. And so it's like, that's what I mean by nuance resolving things. If you want to say, well, what should we do in terms of, some other, it's possible to be nuanced in a way that says we don't do that at all for nuanced reasons. Like, well, what about drone strikes? Well, we don't do that at all for nuanced reasons. The nuanced reasons are, it's more about how we can argue going forward than anything else. What kind of arguments are we going to be able to make? What kind of expectations can we reasonably expect of others we're dealing with in the world as a nation state? If we're going to claim that certain behaviors of ours are defensible, then we're establishing a precedent that is defensible for others as well. And so that's what I mean by a nuanced foreign policy approach does not mean necessarily that we'll just drone strike sometime. No, a nuanced policy approach there says we drone strike not at all unless it's in direct response to something or unless we're really at war. And we need to define what being at war means more carefully. You can't be at war against something that's not a nation state.
That's so funny. There's so many people who are using floss sticks right now.
This is actually a coffee stirrer, but it works well with a floss stick. I'm sorry, Rachel. You know what I neglected to do here? I'm so rude. That darn third slot FE of mine.
Hmm.
I forgot to pack a bomber for Rachel.
It's okay. You know what I could go for? Also, a sody.
A sody pop.
A sody pop, yeah. Would you like one as well, or
I
you
actually
get your
have a cup of coffee right there.
Okay.
I don't want a sody pop, but I would like you to pull that bong rip. And after you pull it, you need a sip of something. Please, I want you to help yourself to some of that coffee right there. It's called.
No sody?
I will get you some sody. Or I mean, I'm not saying don't get sody. I'm saying if you want to drink something after smoking this bong rip before you get the sody, you can help yourself to the coffee.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Because he knows sharing is caring.
Soda. California say soda, not pop.
Yeah, soda.
I say soda or
soda. So I like to say you say sody, and I like to do that sometimes too. But I usually say soda.
In Bulgaria, we say alcohol.
That's funny. What's he drink?
It used to be the case in California. When I was little, we referred to all soft drinks as Coke.
Yeah. See, me too.
But not any longer. It doesn't happen anymore.
Sprite changed, I think. Or maybe 7-Up. Dr. Pepper came in too.
In Sudan, you call it juice. So, what's interesting is in certain parts of the country, when you get near, like, I guess, Atlanta, Georgia, maybe, people start telling you, when you ask them, you know, okay, well, can I get a Coke? And they go, we only serve Pepsi products. Look at these like snobby Pepsi people in the world, like certain restaurants. You never hear that. If you order. First of all, nobody ever orders a Pepsi to be told that a place serves only Coke products, because nobody orders a Pepsi. Everybody orders a Coke. Every sensible person does anyway. But look, so you go to these restaurants and you go, "Can I get a Coke?" And the waitress gives you this look. We only serve Pepsi products. You know, you must be in Atlanta, Georgia.
That seems mean.
Why?
Because, like, you mean
what the lady said? I thought you said I said.
No, not you. The woman.
Well, it's just because if you get down near where Pepsi's made, they have this inferiority complex.
Okay.
Where they know that they're Pepsi and they're not Coke. So if you get near where Pepsi's made, then all the restaurants that are around there, they start just serving Pepsi, and they go and they get snotty about it.
Isn't Atlanta where Coke is made too?
Maybe I got the wrong city then. Maybe Pepsi's not made in Atlanta. Maybe Coke's made in Atlanta. One of them is made in Atlanta. One of them is made someplace else.
And then they're made really snotty about it. You know,
I'm gonna Google the expression "we only serve Pepsi products." See what it says. Oh, so okay, maybe Coke is made in Atlanta. Then Pepsi must be made someplace else. I don't know. Let me see where Pepsi is made. Where is Pepsi made? North Carolina?
I don't think anyone would guess that.
Where are Pepsi products manufactured?
Harrison, New York? That's really close to where Franklin Square is in New York.
What country drinks the most Pepsi? Wow, Argentina. This is just soft drink consumption. Argentina has the highest soft drink consumption in the world at 155 liters per capita. We're at 154. We're just missing first place at the United States. We need to drink more soda.
What's wrong with us?
Pepsi was first introduced as Brad's drink.
Oh.
Okay.
Let's go coffee. Excuse me.
I'm going to Google the expression, we only serve Pepsi products. We only serve Pepsi products. It's the addition of products at the end. Let's see. Yeah, it's a meme. Here. This is a good meme. I like it. See this meme here?
That is funny. Wow. We always serve Pepsi. It's true.
Let's just hope the waiter's response isn't, "I'm sorry, we only serve Pepsi products here." The most restaurants that don't serve Coke. How tired servers at restaurants that don't serve Coke? How tired are you of asking, is Pepsi okay? That's great. I mean, they must be. Yeah, well, the most unnecessary sign I've ever seen in an Irish bar. Guinness sold here.
That's funny. You're my Guinness baby.
Thanks, darling.
Yeah, I actually would have drunk that with you in another lifetime.
You would have drank Pepsi with me? Oh, Guinness.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's one of those things that it's like, I know that it's a sacrifice. It's sad for me.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to bring it up like that.
It's okay. It's important that I have those sacrifices too.
I had to also. It's not vegan.
Oh, you gave up. You gave up Guinness because it has meat in it?
No, yeah. It has fish in it.
Guinness has fish in it?
Yeah.
Are you serious?
Yes, I'm serious.
Guinness isn't.
I had to ask because I was vegan at the time. Vegan. Guinness is not vegan.
That can't. Is that true?
There's something in it. Yeah.
Is Guinness Stout vegan?
No.
It's now suitable.
It's now.
They changed it. They began using a new process that makes it vegan. Huh. Huh. Interesting. It didn't used to be vegan.
No.
That's weird.
I thought so too. At the time, I was like, "Are you fucking kidding me? I can't drink like Guinness because it has like meat products in it. God damn!" Like, so I feel you, brah.
No wonder it's so good.
Right?
It's got meat in it. Yeah, it's like many other brewers use isinglass, a byproduct of the fishing industry that's used to clarify the beer.
Fish.
Rachel is an INFJ. Cheer wine is my favorite NC. I've had that before. NC soft drink.
I have too.
It's cherry, right?
Yeah. No, cheer wine is I think
it's cherry flavored.
It's a brand.
Right, but it's a soda.
Yeah, it is soda.
I think it's
I've had it
cherry flavored.
too. That's what I I live close to Asheville, North Carolina. Yeah, but it's cherry.
Yeah, has a unique and white fizzy
cherry
wild
flavor.
cherry taste.
Oh yeah. I guess I didn't really think about it too much.
It doesn't really say on it. Especially if you get this bottle, it doesn't say what flavor it is or anything.
Yeah, because like I didn't think it was too different from like RC Cola. I thought the name was funny.
Yeah.
Cheer wine. It's like classy. I still put it as hashtag ass. I mean, I know I'm an asshole too, so.
Mistaking 7th function as 4 scenes 1 or 2 to be on the same field than say I sub J, mistaking TE as any. Well, I mean, the thing is,
Excuse me.
They just end up going. They come up with some random idea rather than trying to solve the problem, right? It's sort of you can picture it more clearly when you think about them using it, because the extrovert is more used, in a way that's visible to others. Some nice coughs there, darling.
I'm a 65-year-old man. Oh, I swear.
You're a 65-year-old man in a 25-year-old woman's body.
Yeah.
With a 35-year-old woman's soul.
Yeah. Oh, thanks, babe. Mm-hmm. You made me mature.
Mm-hmm. Your outside of your body is younger than your age. Your inside of your body is older than your age.
Yeah.
And your soul is exactly your age. But it's a combination of being very old and very young.
It's true. It does go back and forth. I think it's free too, though.
I mean, the thing
is, you glean more on the like oblivious, like kid side more, I'd say. But there's times where you can be very adult.
No, I think I tend to experience sadness as sadness briefly, and then being tired. Like sometimes I'll get sad and I'll cry, and then I'll just immediately need to take a nap. It's a powerful sedative for me.
It ironically is for me too, but it's hard for me to cry.
No, the emotion that makes me cry about something that's like related to me, that's actually important to me. For example, if Rachel and I get into a fight or something, then that's a real emotion that makes me sleepy. Now, if I'm watching Naruto, I might cry a number of times during the course of the episode, but that doesn't seem to impact me nearly as much. I guess that's more FE crying. I'm not sure.
That's not FE crying, because the plots are they're made for you to.
It's not display. Emotion. It's not emotion for display purposes for me. It's not an effort to communicate. It's an actual response. Yeah, I guess it must be FI.
I'm jealous.
It just doesn't last very long. It just comes and goes real quick.
You don't understand. I look at you and I am jealous. Seriously. And there's tears, clear tears down his face, and I'm like, I know this is a sad scene. I love these characters. Why can't I cry like that?
Yeah, tears just streaming down my face all the time watching.
Yeah, because it's so soulful. These characters, it's so well written, and these characters you really care about, and he never gives up.
Right. I've already finished the show, and I am rewatching it. I was rewatching it with Rachel, but then I just got too into it, and I just moved ahead because it's interesting. I don't know. I'm curious to how much. For how many of you, if something is subtitled, is it much more difficult to watch multiple episodes back to back because of the sustained attention, or is it in fact something that you find basically equivalent to listening to it?
Can you even do it? Some people can't do subtitles at all.
I mean, the thing is, I find subtitles as natural as listening to it. Basically, I have no problem. Like it doesn't require any willful attention or effort to process the words. So Nura thinks this is very immature analysis. Oh, what are we analyzing, Nura?
You can't fucking hear.
And what would an example of mature analysis be? It's interesting that you call the analysis immature. I love that word. I love that critique. Because, of course, why should we presume that maturity is preferable than immaturity?
I thought we were talking about Naruto.
Well, I mean, the thing is, Nura B is a Spite Monkey.
Oh.
So she's trying to do Spite Monkey stuff.
No, like, I never would have thought that I was an INFJ. Like, when I read stuff about INFJ, I was like, yeah, this sounds like me, but this sounds like a lot of people. So I never assumed I was an INFJ. I thought I was ENFP because I was taking the test, and then I was taking the test, I was turning out ENTP, then ENFJ. It was a process.
See, I find the Japanese voice actors so much better than the American voice actors. For example, I did try watching this show called Rurouni something that some people have recommended here. I watched the first episode of it, and it was they only have it in dub on Hulu. They don't have subs, so as a consequence, I found it. It's hard for me to judge it. It's like I can't judge Japanese animation in English because my comparison is the ones I've watched before that have all been subtitled, which includes basically Naruto Shippuden, and Kazumino Ippo.
So I find I can take 3 episodes of Naruto. No problem with subtitles, because I agree with Eric on all his points. I'm such a visual person that when I don't have the audio to go along with it, if I fall asleep, I lose everything. So I try to keep it to 3 episodes.
I want to address Rusmus's question about veganism.
Yeah, me too.
I was wondering what your thoughts
about it.
on veganism and why you would or wouldn't abstain from animal products. Well, my thoughts about veganism is, the real question is, first of all, do animals have rights? And the answer is no, but that doesn't mean that humans don't have custodial responsibilities. So is it a rights violation? Are you violating a negative moral prohibition when you eat meat? The answer is no. But is there a positive moral indication that is particular to you that means you should probably not eat meat? Possibly. And that's not going to be able to be universalized, because the only universalizable kind of moral statements are those that are negative in nature, namely prohibitions against actions rather than and the only way to get there is through rights. And since animals don't have rights, you can't get there. So you have to talk about positive moral obligation. Those are only contractual and or particularist, depending. So if there's no contractual such obligation, it's going to have to be particularist, which means it's going to be unable to sustain as a universal rule. But personally, I think I'd be a more moral person if I did not eat meat most of the time. But that doesn't change the fact that I'm going to continue to eat meat most of the time, because I understand that moral indications of the positive sort afford me more moral flexibility than do negative moral indications. And that is, in my opinion, the correct analysis on the question of veganism.
Trouble's outside sleeping on the deck.
He is?
Yeah.
Are we giving him some food or what?
That's what I'm asking.
Yeah, I'll give him some food.
I went vegan for a year, and I found it difficult because I like cheese.
The thing is, there's absolutely no argument in favor of not having cheese or milk. That's simply not. There's no good argument for veganism. There are good arguments for vegetarianism. There's no good arguments for veganism.
Veganism is difficult. It really is. I can't lie. You have to eat a lot of. It's becoming easier. Like, Stop and Shop has like a whole aisle that's all vegan, organic. It's okay, Trouble. Let's go.
He went over there.
Okay. Good boy. I hate being responsible for him.
We aren't responsible for him. He's responsible for himself. Okay. We just give him food sometimes.
Okay. I yelled at him before, so I feel bad. I want to give him food.
So the thing is, I eat meat because, in part because it would require a lot of effort on my part to replace meat. I'm somebody who needs a lot of protein, and well, I just explained it, Narabi. You should respond to the arguments I just made as to explaining why it's not universal. And remember the mature analysis thing?
It's not universal. It's different for everyone.
Well, I mean, the point is, but I want to specifically address Narabi here. I just gave you a bunch of very concrete analysis for you to respond to, and you ignored it all. And then you asked a question as though I hadn't already said a whole bunch of stuff for you to respond to. Why is that? Okay, protein is just as great as the whey proteins we provide, if not better. I can't advocate veganism because I've seen too many people do it wrong and end up with mineral deficiencies. I mean, the thing is, I need a lot of meat and fat, and oh, okay, fine. I'm not defensive necessarily. I just misread you, apparently. That happens because I don't necessarily catch everything that everybody says. So I'm going to take certain things out of context. I prepare to do battle when I think somebody's trying to do battle. And sometimes I'm wrong.
Me too.
Is shad roe a type of fish egg? Shad roe. Yeah, shad is a kind of fish and roe is an egg. See, the other thing is, I don't think that being adversarial is being defensive. If somebody's coming and I'm perceiving them as an adversary, then me getting adversarial is not being defensive. It's saying, oh, okay, well, if we're going to be adversarial, we're going to be adversarial. But
does he have a crush on you, PP?
Does Trouble have a crush on PP?
I think so.
You know, I saw them actually kind of hanging out the other day and not fighting. It was weird.
He came over Okay,
Narabi. I'm a little slow on the uptake sometimes. I only got so many lines of narrative I can keep up concurrently. I think anything that comes out of a laboratory labeled keep out where people wear hazmats would potentially be the worst animal to eat in terms of viruses.
So when I was vegan, I wanted to mention that I actually so I was vegan and I was smoking weed a lot. That was my MO for the time I was vegan. I was like, I'm going healthy, smoking weed and going vegan. And I had really great skin and I eat a lot of the same things over and over again. But if you like to socialize, good luck, because not a lot of places are vegan. Plus the vegan stuff is really expensive. And it is easier now. Like you can go to your supermarket and they have if they have organic stuff, they'll have vegan stuff too. But it's not for everyone.
Yeah, what Octavio Silva says, or I get a lot of people coming here intentionally to try to provoke and piss me off and generally troll. And
it's been a lot of it.
But the other thing is, I do have this sort of approach where it's definitely not my house, my rules. I don't silence people when they say things I don't like until they cross certain lines and indicate to me clearly that they're unwilling to engage in line dancing discourse, in other words, dancing near the line, but that they're determined to cross it, then eventually, at a certain point, I'll dismiss them as a spy monkey and I'll hide them from the channel. But it's a subtle, tricky line to walk on in terms of the FETI matter. I want to uphold the TI standards of fairness and prioritizing discourse and empowering people to express themselves, while also not empowering people who are determined to just be my enemy and hate me and be spiteful and do as much harm as they can and undermine my credibility or legitimacy in every way they can. Don't smoke dead bats. It's a good way to contract COVID-20.
When I lived in Pennsylvania for school, I had not one but 2 times where a bat was in my kitchen. We had to get it out. It was a whole process.
A good way to create COVID-20 would be to spread the rumor that smoking bats gets you high.
Oh my God, I saw bats when we were here. One of the first nights I was here, across the street. I hope we get to see bats again. That'd be fun.
Yeah, we don't have a whole lot of ENTPs around here. ENTPs tend to butt a little heads with each other. Right? Yeah, well, we can butt each heads against each other too.
Yeah, it happens.
I think it has a lot to do with stage of development. It's like what frustrated me in arguing with Jack was dealing with an ENTP at that stage of development where he's being an ENTP as best he can at that age, and it's like
respectful enough.
Yeah, absolutely. He did nothing wrong, right?
No.
He just was a textbook young ENTP who's still working out all the NETI approaches and stuff.
Yeah.
And so it's like I spent plenty of time dissembling myself. Eventually I sort of outgrew it, but he's young. He's super young.
Isn't he like 21 or something?
Yeah. So it's like, and
can I share that bunch of?
Yeah, I just thought so I don't have to keep opening the big bag. I thought I'd take some out so we can just struggle like this. Here you go.
I like condensing it.
There.
Thank you.
It's
really nice next to you because I have a big crush on you.
Thanks, darling.
You're welcome, baby.
You don't have a big crush. I mean, you're in love with me.
I am in love.
That's
with you.
stage 7 crush.
It is stage 7 crush. That's pretty that's heart eye emoji.
And there's only one other. My daughter's not an ENTP though. She's not. She's a ESTP. I was wrong. You might be an ENTP. I have no idea. But my daughter, level 8 of crush is you're dead, and they made a statue of you two hugging each other.
Oh my gosh, that's what they did in that's in Pompeii.
Right. So there is level 8. There is level 8, Bacon, but you got to die together, holding each other in each other's arms. Hot volcanic ash buries you.
Wow.
That's the only way you can get to level 8. The main thing that made me decide for sure that Delilah was SE over NE was Becky. Becky demonstrating clearly what a youngish, not as young as Delilah, but within 7 or 8 years of Delilah age, look like an actual ENTP woman look like versus my daughter who was an ESTP. It was it was as clear as day all of a sudden. It was like, oh, that's why I'm having trouble reconciling this and that and this with Delilah, because she's not an ENTP. She's an ESTP who was raised by an ENTP, and so can talk about a lot of abstract ideas and stuff and be pretty ideationally active about it. But at the end of the day, I used to get frustrated with her for not wanting to argue with me more. Like, I don't understand why you're not continuing these argument chains, all the different argument chains out all the way. And I think
so funny.
I think she'd get frustrated with me because she'd be like, "Why aren't we having this argument for some purpose?"
That's so funny. Oh, Delilah.
Well, I don't think they suddenly changed ENTJs. They must have been ENTJs all along or something.
Well, ESTP and ENTP can look a lot alike. The more you're around one, or the more you're around them, those types, the more you see the differences. Like in Hawaii, in like I noticed that there were things in our conversation with Delilah and I that NI stuff she wasn't catching on to, and SE stuff that I was just blow way past my mind. Like, didn't even happen, but it was just like, but we were talking about the same thing.
Well, I mean, look, here's an example of ESTP versus ENTP.
Yeah.
Is Delilah saying to Rachel saying like, "Oh no, I'm enjoying your stories. Please tell me more." And Delilah going, "Oh, don't encourage me, or I'll talk your ear off."
Yeah.
The thing is, an ENTP might make that joke, but then be very quiet thereafter for a long stretch of time.
True.
ESTP, she makes that joke. It's intended as a warning. If you continue to encourage me, you will get this.
Yeah, it was a warning.
And that's the difference between ESTP and ENTP. Mm-hmm. I'm really working the intuitive angle of the FE. She's working the physical angle of the FE.
Because it could look bad. If,
right. She's basically making concrete the statement, I'm not reading your FI very much. So I'm reading your FE and I'm trusting it right now.
Yeah, right.
So, I'm putting responsibility on you to make the decision about what you actually want because you're going to get it.
Yeah, she's saying, yeah. If you want me to continue, I definitely can, but it can go for a while. So, just be careful
what you wish for.
Yeah.
Whereas
she knows herself very well.
It's just like Rachel and I are prone to overly intuit things. Both of us are. And so, if I say to her, if we were just sort of getting to know each other, as Delilah and Rachel were kind of in Hawaii, they had met before, but they hadn't really spent a lot of time together or been on vacation together before, so then I might make that same joke, right? But if I'm making that joke, I'm concluding that I probably wouldn't make that joke at this point in my life. But let's say I did make it, then it would indicate that I'm wanting reassurance that we're intuitively engaged with this idea as a topic that's going to continue to evolve as a topic as to whether or not I'm talking too much or talking your ear off or something. And then by laying it out there, I'm requiring her to sort of take a position on it one way or the other. And as an ENTP, I don't really want to require her to take a position on it one way or the other, because then I have to deal with the fact that there's a status on something that should be fluid. In other words, I'm going to be continually evolving my amount of talking based on reading her actual displays and trying to be nuanced and adjusting accordingly so that we can, if we are going to settle on a status on that issue, it will be with plenty of justifications already established. Let's delay establishing a status on the issue until we've got sufficient justification to justify the status we want to establish. That's an ENTP approach versus an ESTP approach, which is statuses schmatuses.
I was like, what statuses?
Statuses schmatuses, bend over.
That's at the most primitive natural state, I guess.
Yeah, he's an ISTP.
Who's an ISTP?
Benjamin. He's,
Did I leave my soda there? I think I did.
I don't know. I don't see it.
Yeah, I think.
Do other HPs struggle with responding to texts like since struggle with small talk and I kind of associate being afraid to let people down? Yeah, well, I mean, the other thing about third slide FE is we don't like to ask people for things. We don't like to make requests. We like to basically we're kind of like a utility loan shark. I'll be more useful to you than you are to me on an ongoing basis on the grounds that at some point that'll be definitive argumentationally about something.
Yeah. There was one time where Jen's car had a flat and she was with a friend and she was not calling her parents. She was like, no way am I calling my parents. Like, fuck that shit, I'm doing it. And the person that she was with was a dude. And she was like, when she was recalling the story, she kept on telling me, she's like, I can't believe a dude, like, here I am, like, you know, doing the thing, and he's like basically crying, like that, like, no, we need to call it AAA, we need to call it, like crying. And she's like, no, I'm doing it myself, like, not my parents, so stubborn about it. And I was just like, I kind of felt for him a little bit too, because I'm like, I don't know if I would have known how to change my own tire. Yeah. And she was so happy about that. Like, that was her bragging over. She knew she could hold that over him. That at one point it would show that she was more masculine than him.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing is we do keep track of everything in case they're both contingencies. Well, and they're contingencies that are based in a sense that people are unpredictable, but language is not. That, you know, there are these categories of linguistic engagements, and there are these classifications of acceptability for those categories of engagement based on relationship, and there are categories of unacceptability, degrees of it, you know.
True.
And so you preserve all these realities, statements, things people say, whatever, because you never want to be outgunned ultimately. And so and I've learned early on that the way to not be outgunned in part is to not waste bullets. So I don't tend to bust people's chops. If I start getting suspicious about somebody, like, I don't think this person is necessarily well intentioned, or I don't like some of the things that this person is saying or doing, I probably won't mention it for a while, and I'll make them feel safe so that they'll display more of their actual nature. And then once they've given enough rope to fully hang themselves, then and only then do I go, oops, this was all rope, and now you're hanging there with a broken neck.
What about what David White says?
SI is not a secondhand consciousness. SI expresses, as all functions do, in two ways. One of them physical, one of them metaphysical. One of them is native to the function. So SI is natively a physical function. Your most natural expression of SI is experiencing things like, I have to pee, I'm thirsty, I'm hungry, I'm sleepy, or, ooh, that feels good if you get in a warm bath, something like that, okay? That's the most natural expression of SI. People who are SI DOMs spend their time paying attention to how much energy they're going to have later in their body. Oh, no, I need to rest now because I have to work later. So then when they do work later, they'll get exhausted 3/4 of the way through their shift and be able to barely make it through the last quarter of their shift, like ENTPs will be tending to do, you know, because they didn't take that nap. They weren't paying attention to their physical state of being. So that's the most native kind of SI. The other kind of SI is the kind that takes impressions of your experiences and keeps track of what you've done, where you've been, who you've talked to, what you've said, stuff like that. It doesn't keep track of all the details, but the more high up in the stack it is, the more I guess you'd call it high resolution it is. So the more you're an NI person, the more you take away takeaways from your experience. What I learned from this experience was, yeah, the details of this experience I don't remember at all.
Yeah.
That's high NI, low SI. I remember a bunch of details about this experience. What it means is that in the future, more experiences are likely to be like that if it was significant. If similar things are similar. That's the SI approach. If you're an SI Dom, you might remember smells, sights, sounds from the given event. You might remember specific sort of images of what happened during the event.
Yeah, I have very little of that.
I don't have a lot of that either. I have more than an NI person does, but I don't have a whole lot of it. Now, Rachel and I, we have equivalent SI kind of about when it comes to drawing up past examples of things or personal examples to sort of fill out the NI idea. But that's what INFJ specialize in, is they specialize in incorporating SI when it's useful for it to be communicatively empowered.
Hey, Dark Phoenix. Hey, Bruce Wayne.
You probably addressed this before, but there seem to be certain absolute values to SI regardless of placement. Well, like any function, it can force itself upon your attention when it is traumatized, essentially. Here's an example of traumatizing any. You must do this same exact task over and over and over and over and over again all day long for weeks at a time. That is traumatizing any. It will force you, it's going to force your any to act up in some way or another, right? Forcing FI is much easier to understand. Just take away something that somebody loves, kill a loved one in front of somebody, and you can prompt FI immediately. Tweaking TE. If you have something that's incredibly inefficiently structured, where you've got to do all these tasks that are irrelevant to the actual completion of the thing, but are required for FE reasons, for example, or for just SI reasons where they just persist without any cause, then in that case, that's going to bother anybody's TE. And so it's like everybody can be tortured by having circumstances be strongly violatory of the values that correlate with a given function priority, you know?
So many sneezes for little Eric.
Now, on some level, SI is the most absolute value because you can force people with pain. It's like nobody's going to really have as much urgency in their anguish as somebody who's being physically tortured. No matter how sophisticated or complicated you make this non-physical torture device, there's a certain urgency to physical anguish that says, make the physical anguish stop, and there can be solvency to that in a couple of different ways, you know? So is that an absolute value? Well, it's implicit to being a physical object as well as a metaphysical being. To be a physical object is to retain identity that requires you to remain whole physically. And the being a physical being means experiencing physical pain when that integrity of self is violated. How do you torture NI? Well, for example, I couldn't watch that C.S. Joseph interview. I couldn't watch more than 30 seconds of it. It drove me crazy. Okay? It drove me absolutely crazy. The Trump presidency tortures NI.
Yeah.
Drives me absolutely crazy.
Me too.
I can't think about it. The COVID thing makes me absolutely fucking crazy. Because it's ignoring NI. If something has a 99 point whatever survival rate, let it run its fucking course. Duh. Yeah, people are going to die. That's not the end all discussion of the argument, you know?
Yeah, baby, take that rip. I had a question. Shit. Oh, so I got an email saying that Frank James is going to be posting a video on INFJ NITI loop. What do you think that could possibly be about? Like, how does that look to you?
Well, it would look like something like this. You read an article that says, if your man doesn't bring you flowers at least once a week, then, he's not putting enough effort into this relationship. And so, of course, the TI is going to go, is my relationship consistent with this standard being set up?
Okay.
And you go, oh, it's not consistent. And your NI is going to go, this external truth resonates as universal to me, and therefore is defining how I see my particular experience. Of course, in this instance, that shouldn't define how you see your particular experience, because maybe your guy doesn't bring you flowers once a week, but maybe he brings you candy twice a week. Or maybe instead of bringing you something as a gift, you don't have that love language. Maybe he instead
puts oil in your car.
Yeah, it does acts of service for you or something else, like, gives you a massage or whatever. The point is, an NI-SI loop an NI-TI loop is a loop that says some aspect of my life is inconsistent with some universal rule I believe to be true.
Mm.
And I can't get over this because I'm refusing to look at the particularist data and say, my particular situation differs and includes factors such as that would render this NI truth irrelevant in this circumstance.
Which is what happens sometimes with me in our arguments.
Mm-hmm. Eric, do you still disagree with Dom tertiary loops existing? I never disagreed with them existing. What I'm saying is, when we talk about that, what we're doing is we're saying, can you explain this kind of argument or this kind of frame lock? It is the case that sometimes a INFJ will NITI their way into damaging an SI good thing.
Yeah, I've done it.
So,
I do. I've shown it in videos how it could get worse. If I don't have like the right state of mind and the internet gives you all the answers you always look for.
Right. Well, what I'm saying is, I don't think it's a mechanical thing. To imply that you're stuck in a loop is to imply that it's a function mechanics thing. I don't think it's a function mechanics thing. I think it's a shortcut. I think we're basically doing the analysis backwards. We're saying, here's a phenomenon. Sometimes INFJs will make bad arguments of a certain kind in certain contexts.
Yes.
And you might describe those bad arguments as being over prioritizing TI and NI values, arguments, etc., at the expense of SI data.
Yeah.
Is that a tendency of INFJs? Is that a tendency of INFJs? Yes. Does that comprise a loop? Well, that's the term that you're using, so sure, whatever. But the point is, it's not actually a cognitive function loop. It doesn't represent the exclusion too much of the capacity to pay attention via extroverted feeling. It's saying it might be about a problem that doesn't include extroverted feeling as a consideration. The thing is, but the real problem is not that it's excluding the second function, but that it's not including enough the eighth function.
Yeah, like I never really had to before ever deal with like that sort of stuff. Say I was like dating a guy and I saw a red flag, whatever it may have been at the time. I research that stuff and I go into a deep dive so that I gather all my points, the TI. I gather all my data that's correct and show what the opposite is of that person is going to say to me. So it's like, it's really hard to win, like, because it doesn't matter no matter what. Like, I think that I'm right because these universal truths that I read online said that, like, this means that XY means XZ. But the truth is that, like, it's not like that. And
Sometimes it is and sometimes it's not. The problem is you're applying it to something where it's generally less likely to be like that.
yeah, and a lot of times I would do it alone. Like, we live together, so I have to face it. Like, a lot of times I'd be in a relationship and I'd be circling these thoughts of perfection in a relationship and not actually verbalizing it, which is even worse, because I'm like not being myself. I'm an edge. I'm an edgy person when like I'm thinking something's wrong in our supposedly perfect relationship, But for one with us living together, like it helps because I have to face it. And when I face it, I grow and learn and we have better communication.
Yeah, it seems like our little also what used to take a lot longer to disentangle takes less time to disentangle.
Yeah, really.
So I want to respond to a couple things I said, Eagle. First of all, what I'm saying about the loops and the grips are basically those are not part of the operationalized form of the model that I'm talking about. In other words, they may be good enough descriptions, but they're nothing explained by any of the mechanics I'm presenting about cognitive function. Those mechanics don't explain grips or loops, why they would happen, it's like, so I'm just saying it's not part of what I'm presenting. What are my thoughts on the car model, which says that there's a driver and navigator, and I'm not. Those kind of metaphors are fine. I think that there's a lot of different metaphors for understanding how the self interacts with its various parts.
Yeah, and I think it helps. Everyone learns differently too, and it can help people. Like for me, I call it a rabbit holing. I feel like I start with one little thing, and then it may loop and get bigger. I call myself going down the internet rabbit hole. That's when I go to find the general truths on the thing that I think I'm right about.
Well, I would also point out that that there's a tendency to compare against an ideal when evaluating something in an NI dom. So, because they're NI, they understand sort of holistically. Like, one of the things that Rachel's been bothered about is the way this went down. Like, the fact that there was drama in New York that compelled her to come back and for us to reunite sooner than we chose exactly. Now, for me, even when it happened, I was happy about it because I'd always rather be with her sooner and with her more and so forth. But, oh yeah, sure, I'll turn my volume up.
And running fox, that's a great emoji for that sentence. Bye, Octavia Silva. Where are you going? Silva. Sleeping?
So it's like she's thinking about herself in the abstract, in an NI sense of as a human being coming into this circumstance and being my significant other. She comes in with a lack of meaningful alternatives that would afford her an escape route of sorts if she wanted out, Now, it's interesting because I think it shows why it's valuable to just talk about a lot of things. So, the Spite Monkeys have accused me of holding her hostage in some sense. They also accused me of emotionally manipulating her. Now, that second claim is objectively false. There's no way, shape, or form I have emotionally manipulated her. No. In any negative way at all.
The same could be said about me.
What's
right?
That? What?
Because truthfully, if they wanted to argue it, the same thing about me. They could say the same thing about me.
Yeah, but they're not trying to make you out to be the bad guy.
Right, exactly.
That wouldn't do
what I mean. Right, exactly.
So the thing is, I think there's what they're cluing in on there, and what people do when they're trying to be spiteful like this is they find things that do have little bits of NI resonance to them. Well, there is a bit of NI resonance to this because of the weird like reality of the situation. It's true that Rachel doesn't have a lot of other alternative places to go and things, lives to live besides the one she's currently living.
I didn't choose it.
But the thing is, this is true of everybody once they are currently living together and fully involved. This often happens that, for example, it's not the case that when you're in a long-term relationship, it should always be so that at any moment I could leave and you'll be perfectly fine because you got your own shit all set up over here. In fact, it should be the contrary of that. That's the reason why people get alimony and stuff in divorce, because they have their lives set up together according to a certain structure. And they both can reliably learn to expect that to be the way things are. And so what Rachel is sort of coming to terms with is a frame where she can actually reliably expect that to be the way things are and not have to maintain her own escape routes because everything is fundamentally unreliable and unsafe. That's not the case. I'm not unreliable and unsafe.
No. Nothing else.
Yeah, and I love her immensely, and I don't want to be apart from her at all. And so the fact that it went down like that is sort of bad in the abstract. And it does, in fact, create a weird kind of circumstance where she's not quite sure what she'd do if we were to fall apart.
Yeah, because it would devastate me.
But more importantly, I get upset because I'm like, well, why are you thinking about us falling apart? Like, how the fuck is that going to happen? This is a perfect relationship for both of us. We're both exceedingly happy with this relationship. Our actual experience is all positive.
I know. My naivety scares me sometimes.
I mean, I don't think it's naivete that is the problem. I think it's cynicism that's the problem. It's the opposite of naivety. It's like the problem is you've been made cynical by the world. Mm. You are assuming that it's always the case that this person is. Well, you've never experienced somebody who's been as forthright about everything, I think, as I am with you.
No, I haven't at all. Even when I was living with someone. Even when I was living with someone, I never spoke or hung out with as much as we do.
It's like what Tatum says here. I would die if me and my boo broke up and we didn't even live together. And we don't even live together. So the thing is, I'm just as the Dio era. Where are you ashing that cigarette? The Dio era? That is such a great chat right there. You get 5 points for that, Taylor Van Amber. You do. You get 5 points. Those 5 points don't expire. They last with you forever. You got +5. You can distribute them however you want. You take it on your strength, your intelligence, your wisdom, your charisma, your constitution.
What's the big deal?
What's the big deal about what?
What just happened?
Oh, I just am impressed with Taylor Van Amber's comment. Where are you ashing that cigarette? The Dio era.
What does that mean?
Because Ronnie James Dio just died. He was a famous singer. He fronted the band Dio, famously singing Rainbow in the Dark. It's a heavy metal song of my youth. I'll play it for you.
Oh, wow. Okay, cool. I'm sorry.
So I like
that's
that.
Cool. That's fine. I was appropriately ignoring your NE. That's a lesson for me. I know not when to ask now.
So regardless, intuitive really don't need labels in a relationship. No, you've got that exactly backwards. Intuitives really need labels in a relationship. And we need the labels to mean things. And the problem is most of the people we date aren't other intuitives. And when we don't date other intuitives, they don't get this. They don't get that the labels matter more or as much as the realities. And so it's like when you get with another intuitive and you both do get this, there's still this fear that the other person is not really understanding that statuses matter, that labels matter, that these words matter. I understand the words matter.
Mm-hmm.
Rachel understands the words matter, but she's scared because all of her previous experience has indicated to her that they don't, that people say things and they cannot be trusted and whatever.
They could change their mind and it doesn't mean a thing. I think I'm gonna get cozy in bed and wait for you to.
No, light bulb. It's not the case that SI needs labels. SI, it focuses on your experience, right? Well, my experience is this. I'm comfortable with my experience. It's familiar. I want it to repeat. NI says I need this to be an abstract thing, that I know what it is by name and by expectation on my map. I can't trust my experiences, no matter how good they are day in and day out. If I'm an NI Dom, I might still get caught up with a certain kind of negative NI thing that I encounter, and I might need additional reassurance that, nope, SI still is predominant here. We're still fine, and that's okay. If my INFJ needs that periodically, I have no problem providing that.
Really?
So, no, what I'm saying makes a lot of sense, David White. Actually, I wish I had a Word document with a quick synopsis of major writers and YouTube's understanding of MBTI. Yeah, well, Jason Blood's comment is interesting. Duplicitous sadist, huh? Devoid of any transparency or logic. She and her Spite Monkey Club has created their own echo chamber. Yeah. I suppose, I don't know. I have no personal direct familiarity with their club. After all, I'm pretty sure rule number 1 is that I'm not allowed in it. I'm pretty sure. If they haven't written that into the rules, it was a major oversight into the club rules. NI knows where she wants to go, where she needs to be. So if we ask for title, degrees, or meaningful connections, it's time to get there. Once we get there, we can move to the next part of our hierarchy of needs. So the thing about title, degrees, or meaningful connections, what I think I'm talking about specifically is this: how do two people talk about their relationship? It seems in general, a movement in society towards, hey, let's be a little bit more realistic about relationships. They're probably not going to last forever. Maybe we shouldn't, maybe monogamy is not for us. Maybe we shouldn't stick with one person. But man, it's kind of a general move towards that kind of narrative. Yeah. I'm arguing the alternative to that. I'm saying I absolutely reject that narrative. And I want my partner to as well. And the thing is, I've always wanted my partner to, never understanding that I need a partner who thinks rejecting that narrative is more important than their experience in the moment. And that who actually thinks that rejecting that narrative means you therefore don't do those things. You know, it's like who assume. See, it's like I assume that rejecting the narrative comes first, and then your behavior follows suit naturally. Other people don't necessarily think that. They think their behavior comes first, and then they say things after the fact to justify it. But I don't roll like that, and I need another person who doesn't roll like that. You know. I need somebody who puts the narrative first and then assumes the behavior will follow course. I can trust Rachel because she said all the right things to me, and therefore she couldn't change. She couldn't behave in a way that ran counter to those things without making herself susceptible to all kinds of critiques and arguments that she wouldn't want to be. You know, basically, she'd render herself ontologically invalid if she did certain things after having said certain things.
Yeah,
that matters.
Yeah,
right?
I apologize sometimes more than I should for some things that, like, I remember that I said.
Right. I mean,
because I know that they hurt, and then I hate hurting you, so I'm like, I apologize about those words.
Why do we put so much emphasis on community? People are awful, aren't they? Sometimes people can be quite awful to each other, but that's the point around here is all it takes to have a good and healthy life and community is to always know what the right thing to do is. That's quite a challenge. That's not easy, But when it comes to stuff that's in lots of areas, I always know what the right thing to say is, what the right argument is, what the winning argument is, what I can't say, what I go. If I narrow the scope of my fields enough, I can almost always know what the right thing is, and as a consequence, it can be a community that's actually healthy. You disagree? We need forgiveness. That's not disagreeing with me. I don't disagree that we need forgiveness. That's why I always stress this is a mistake-tolerant environment. We also need accountability, which means, absolution follows repenting, right? Absolution follows penance. It doesn't precede it. It can sometimes, and sometimes it should. The whole idea about forgiving, you can forgive the concrete, provided there's consensus on the abstract. So, I'm sorry I said that to you. It was wrong of me. It's sufficient to absolve the real based on the fact that the abstract is an acknowledgement of a mutual obligation to be fair.
I'm going to take a bite too. That's perfect size. Thank you, baby.
It's empty. Okay, so I'm going to answer Flying Fox with you or whatever. The question is this.
So that sounds nice.
We're talking about some types like to defend the point whether it's right or wrong. Can you elaborate on that? What's the opposite of that? And what's wrong? So the thing about being right and wrong is that's a contextually specific term. If you're talking about public policy issues, you can be right or wrong because it's a advocacy of what is the appropriate thing to force on everybody. And we can logically conclude certain things. Like I was right about COVID, that we should take basically no action because of all the arguments I made.
That's scary, sir.
It can be right or wrong about lots of five things. Like it's really important to me that you acknowledge the equal importance of my considerations in this matter is a perfectly reasonable justification for things. You don't need to justify that the thing you like more is actually better than the thing the other person likes more if it's the right kind of matter. If it's the wrong kind of matter, you do need to justify that. So it's like the types who are wrong about public policy and stick with their position anyway are FI types, usually in the second slot. David White says we should never force anything or boomerangs in mysterious ways. In general, we should minimize the amount of forcing that happens. And that means both metaphorically and literally. Like, if we want to accomplish an outcome, a public policy outcome, it should minimize the amount of forcing people that's required, that's involved in it. If we want to have a nice sexual experience with our significant other, we should wait for the right time, not try to force it right now. You know, in that kind of sense, where it's like you can force the timing of something, or you can force a certain course that's exclusive of some other course. There's kind of different meanings, you know.
You're running money.
Waldo. That's such an bipolar joke. So, anyway, community I think is important. It's certainly important to me. I like to sort of descriptively taxonomy this aspect of life by talking about SX, SO, and SP. So I'm SXSO. Most of my general satisfaction I get in life, I like to get as part of a two-person team. Me and Rachel going out to eat or and talking about normal times, pre-COVID times, whatever.
We do everything together, like, really.
Right. And then for the rest of the time, mostly, I like to spend doing SO stuff. That is to say, live streaming involving a large group. That will also involve Rachel sometimes. Sometimes she'll be inside. In that case, it's like it's an SO thing. So even when she's here and we're all talking together, I'm paying as much attention to you as I am to her. And that's SO time. Then there's sometimes SP time, which is basically when I'm taking a bath and I'm just rah-rahing in the bath. Or like
your time.
I just want to get up first. I always get up before she does, and so I have my cup of coffee and smoke a cigarette, depending on the day. Certain watching TV shows and chilling. SI time for me. It's SP time. So SI time tends to correlate with SP time. Why? Because that's the closest I get to the authentic self. That sandwich was good. It was also our lunch. Rachel, I'm sorry I didn't give you more of it. I got greedy with it there.
Oh, sorry for the apology.
I
could have had more if I had asked. No big dip. So I'm eating the salads and then I'm gonna head out. I took my medicine a little bit earlier because that's what the doctor said.
Oh, good. Here. Do you want some of these?
Sure.
Food box here.
Yeah.
I want another cup of coffee. Well, it's 10:30 p.m. here, and we got a kind of a late lunch, I guess. Maybe 1 o'clock, 2. No, maybe even later than that. I'm not sure. It was like 3 o'clock. I think we ate, and then we finished it for dinner.
I do need alone time. I do. As an introvert, yeah, I do. That's when I watch, like, I could take a bath and I was listening to this TV show I like, Felicity.
The thing is, we have kind of an unusual schedule too. A lot of times we'll be sleeping at different times. Like I was sleeping this afternoon. We're adjusting. We have. I don't. When I think about this question, does Rachel have enough opportunity for alone time? Because it's something that Winston's mom hammered early on, knowing that Rachel was an introverted intuitor. We needed a fair amount of alone time. It's like I'm watching Rachel gradually get accustomed to the fact that she can have what she wants. She can do what she actually wants to do, and that's what I want her to do.
Yeah.
That I have no problem with her at any point going like, I want to watch my thing by myself out here. She's never. I think that she's never really said anything like that to me at this point because she's just so FE minded. But it wouldn't bother me at all if she were to say, I just want a couple hours by myself with my shows outside. I totally get that.
I will get to that point, honestly. I will.
Yeah, I totally get that. The thing is,
words come slowly to me because I ignore them, right? Can't you say that? I feel like I'm slower with communication with certain things. But I know what I do. What I do like is being with you more than without you.
I mean, that's the other thing is, I do think we're both SX types.
Mm-hmm. And we're both 7s. We like buddy time.
I mean, here's the thing.
I do. I mean, not quite. I never want to shush him. Sometimes I wish I had the talent. Wish I would just be like, I'm gonna put my earbuds in and like take a nap. I'm building that. I don't have the confidence. I've never had to do this before. This is like new to me, so I feel comfortable though telling you.
I mean, my take on it is you are unaccustomed to an environment.
Yeah.
That isn't.
Yeah.
Dedicated on some level to keeping you skittish.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's like when you first came here, you were worried a lot about sleeping. That it's like if you're sleeping in, then you must be not contributing enough for something. And,
yeah, that's how I feel.
And it's ridiculous, of course. You contribute best when you successfully are happy and getting what you want and need.
Mm-hmm. And you're the one who teaches me best. You do, you really do. I'm a rat in Chinese astrology.
Bullied by your imaginary friend.
I love sleep.
You're less real than me. No, I'm not. I imagined you. What does that say about you? Huh? You can't. The thing you imagine is more real than you yourself. Pretty weak. So, community. I find it important, a very important part of an important part of daily breakfast. I think that it used to be between my relationships, and even including towards the end of my second marriage, I was very reliant on the community. My last relationship, I was very reliant on the community because I needed help with the havoc being wreaked in the SX part of my life,
Yeah.
My 2-person team was hurting me as much as it was fulfilling its role as a 2-person team.
Yeah.
I never really had a teammate. I complained about that for the entire 2.5 years. From day one, I said there were certain things I said to her over and over and over again. Number 1, work with me, not against me. And number 2, you need to be a teammate. You're not being a teammate. I need a teammate, please. Can you act like a teammate? We are supposed to be a team. You are not behaving like a teammate. Variants of those sorts, I said a million fucking times. I didn't have any imaginary friend. I had imaginary worlds that I populated with various people that I played around with and stuff.
Was it like imaginary figurines, or did you have toys?
No, I'd just be like out in the backyard. There'd be this plant, right? And it had like little balls on it or whatever, little doodads. And I'd make those into various kinds of spaceships in my head and be going places and a lot of conversations I'd be having with various characters that I'd make up to in these pretend escapades of me having powers and using power in various ways, It's like all, variants on various Swords and Dragons books that I was reading.
I played baby dolls, and house a lot.
When I think of playing, when I think of playing by myself, I don't think of any toys at all involved. I just think of what I was doing in my head. But when I think of playing games with other people, I think of very SE games we played, like Who Can Do It the Best. Who Can Do It the Best? A classic childhood game for boys. Pick any sort of random thing, like who can lay out these 10 pieces of wood 6 feet apart across this lawn fastest. That would be an example game of if you had 6 pieces of wood. Well, there you go. There's a Who Can Do It the Best game right there.
Yep.
Who can put
Very
these
simple.
6 pieces of wood 6 feet apart all the way across this lawn, and then bring them, come back, pick them up, and stack them up fastest.
Imagine if I was part of that group.
I
would win one.
No,
there would
look,
be one game.
You'd have your turn to pick what kind of Who Can Do It the Best it is.
Oh.
So it doesn't have to be that kind of Who Can Do It the Best. You could be like, the thing is, I don't remember us ever doing any like verbal ones.
So if I knew there was something that like I'm better at, then
right, but they were all basically physical things. But
and that's what I mean. I think it'd be like a little funny.
Do I like Monopoly? It's been a long time since I played it. I don't dislike Monopoly. I don't hold any ill will towards Monopoly.
I said my answer for that, even though you didn't ask me. I have a straight answer. No, I do not like playing Monopoly. Because the person who has the upper hand in the beginning usually has the upper hand in the end. So it's like...
See, Risk I do have a negative feeling towards. Risk always ends in people being upset.
Really?
Seems like, well, I did when I was a child. Monopoly, sort of, but it's like, in Monopoly, you have the added advantage of what happens doesn't have anything to do with your deciding to attack Joe instead of Bob. But in Risk, you got that, each party has to specifically target other parties in their decision making. And
I was just so bad at that game. I never used to like understand like wheeling and dealing, because you have to be kind of like self-preserving.
Yeah, you do. Eric, I once played Monopoly. I didn't get my park place, and it caused me to punch my friend. Any insight to that?
It happens.
Sounds like your friend deserved it. After all, you didn't get your park place.
Uno's fun.
Anyone play Catan?
Oh my god, Catan! That sounds familiar.
Can we play some cooperative games where no one wins?
Oh my gosh, what about that AI?
AI Dungeon?
Yeah.
AI Dungeon is pretty fun.
That is.
That's pretty fun.
It is fun. It's Settlers of Catan. I always liked what's that one with the body parts and don't like where you have to operation.
Oh yes, operation.
Yeah.
It takes a steady hand.
Mm-hmm.
Now see, that is obviously favoring what?
Yeah.
SI DOMs?
Oh, so yeah.
I'd say SI DOMs probably have the steadiest hands. Mm-hmm. You raped my Australia. Yeah, that's the sort of thing one might say in Risk. You're right. I did play Cloud at chess not that long ago. That was a live stream Fantastico.
Yeah, and Eric won.
Yeah, the sounds scare me when playing Operation as well.
The feelings scare me.
You really get a jolt to the chest when you hear and you go, ah!
I hate the buzz in my bones. But I still love it. I always liked Life because I thought it was like one that everyone can play.
Yeah, Life was fun. I like playing Life.
Chutes and Ladders, probably my favorite.
Chutes and Ladders is a classic. The key thing about Chutes and Ladders to remember is that ladders go up and chutes go down.
But you can't choose. Yeah.
You can't climb up a chute.
No.
No. You can't slide down a ladder. No.
Hungry hippos.
I like hearts and spades as well.
You know it can be embarrassing.
What?
Pictionary.
Pictionary.
Because if you are playing like say a date night with like your friends and it's all couples and like you have like you don't have that like sync, it looks so bad.
It looks so bad.
Yeah, you know those couples who like can like they're
Oh,
supposed
you mean
to.
if you're a couple that doesn't connect with each
Yeah.
other? I mean, how do you think we do in Pictionary?
I think we would do good.
Anxiety of the game?
Maybe not.
What's anxiety of the game?
You want to play it right?
And the thing is, I think that regardless of whether we had displayed that quick, communicative, nonverbal, or I guess visual communication thing.
Moncala is so fun. I was obsessed with that in high school. Moncala is great. We should get that.
Moncala? What is it?
It's so easy. You have it's a board, and you have these like basically marbles. I forget how many you have, but you have to do there's like 7 little like discs you have to put them in, and I think there's like something like there's an odd number that you can put in there, and you have to keep on putting them in there until like nothing's left. It's something like that. It's like kind of like strategy.
Yeah, I get the idea.
Yeah, you want to get to a certain. It's pretty easy.
See you later, Dave White.
Bye.
Animal Crossing is pretty boring.
I don't know that.
I'm not familiar with that game. But have you ever played Frogger? That's like Animal Crossing, but just for frogs. They're crossing a road. They get hit by a car.
I used to like Paperboy.
Paperboy. Sounds like a fun game.
Yeah, it really was. You had a route and stuff, and sometimes like dogs would chase you. But it would be super hard to beat, though. You would get to the house, you get to the roofs and stuff. But because it was like a pretty primitive, they made it was extra hard. Oh my god, sour snows! Nice. I found it to be fun but challenging. I never heard of Lucian Black.
There's one game that I used to play a long time ago. It's a text game that you go down into this dungeon and there are these transports that will transport you down to the lower levels. And so the weird thing about it is a game I always used to play, and the strategy I'd have was this. So you're at a certain level, you're good enough to fight on like level 1 of the dungeon. But you can teleport down to a lower level. You'll almost always die when you hit those strong guys. But if you don't die, if you get lucky somehow, if you get a couple of good items or something, then you can kill somebody on a very tough level, gather their high quality loot, and then quickly teleport back up to the high level where it's safe. So I used to play this game a lot. I really liked the game. But of course, the weird thing is that once you get that good stuff, you're supposed to then gradually go back to the bottom levels and build up your character faster so you can get to a stronger level and then keep going up. But I would always get greedy and I'd always die at a low level. I want to find that game again. I've been unable to find it. I don't remember what it was called, but I liked it.
I think my growing up, Monopoly was my least favorite. Then Scrabble. I didn't like playing Scrabble. And so what was it? Monopoly, Scrabble, and solitaire. Like playing with people, like a group of people playing. Like
doubles all.
Mm-hmm.
You play doubles all?
Please do not make me. No, anytime it's terrible. Anytime I'm in a social situation, they're like, "All right, coffee, dessert, overtime to play card games." I'm like, ah. I'm like, I have to learn rules about. First of all, I have to learn rules. Not only the rules, but they're rules with different colors and meanings and positions and power. It makes me very overwhelmed.
It's a lot of tea.
Mm-hmm. But if I work with my partner, usually we win because I can intuit what's going to happen. That's my problem. I could always read where everyone else is going. I can always see what's going to happen. But my hand doing it on my own, my cards are so fucking messed up. You know, like, can you see my, like, fanned out? It's like they're all, like, crumpled everywhere. People are like, what are you doing? Do you know how to count? Like, you put this there, this there, this there. I'm like, I'm trying to do it, but it doesn't look like I don't know what I'm doing. I knew if I was in a family who played cards regularly that we weren't going to work out.
You'd be better served for pokers. You don't have to hold any cards, but you only have to look at 2 cards. That are in your hand. Are we getting ready to wrap this up?
Probably.
I feel like I'm getting ready to wrap this up.
I'm tired.
I think I'm going to do is smoke one more cigarette and I'm going to stand over here out of camera sight. I'm going to gently, quietly, lovingly pee into my bucket. Meanwhile, you can enjoy the gorgeous visage of Rachel.
Aww.
My precious wonder pants.
I love you, my host Eric pants.
I love you too.
I think the outside of the sunflower seed, the saltiness is way better than the saltiness inside.
How many cigarettes do you go through? About a pack. A little less, maybe. That feels good.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah. Ooh, that's juicy. It's a lot of yarn.
Yeah, it is. This is good for him.
It streams forth from my body through my penis.
Winston's mom. I was thinking of this show called Felicity. It came out in 1998. And I believe the girl is an INTJ in it. And she travels from California to New York to go to college because she follows her like high school crush to where he goes to college. And I thought of you. I feel like you would like it. It's really good. It's on YouTube. I think she herself, Kerry Russell, is an INTJ, and she plays a good INTJ.
Do you think that's a realistic plot twist for an INTJ female, that they would follow their crush off across the country to college?
Tatum. Yeah, they did go insane. I think it was a little bit off. Like, I don't know why. SI attachments. But the truth is that what they said, so the character cuts her hair in season 2 and basically killed the show.
Really?
Yeah.
Because you got a haircut?
Yeah, it was short, really short. But the truth is that, like, people, when they go away to college, they get tattoos, they get piercings, they cut their hair, so they want to do that. Show her, like, changing.
Guess who didn't get any tattoos when she went to college? My beloved Rachel Lapalosa. My beloved Rachel Lapalosa is tattoo-free.
Mm-hmm.
And the only piercings are just regular ear piercings.
Yeah.
I like that. You're nice and pristine.
Thanks.
You're pristine like virgin forest land.
Christine, like my middle name, Christine.
Yeah, pristine like your middle name, Christine. That's right.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Waldo, I might think I kind of agree with
No,
you,
she
but that's
looks
not
like
fair to
Bride.
say because other people have tattoos and there's no reason to say diss upon you just because you got a tattoo. People will be like, "Oh, hey, I got tattoos. I'm not trashy. I have a couple tattoos myself. I have one word on each shoulder here.
Yep.
But I would like
Winston's
to
mom.
get rid of one of them.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, at this point, it doesn't really matter. I'm been so accustomed to them for my whole life.
I like them too. They helped me figure out my whole Enneagram pyramid scheme thing, remember?
Oh, yeah.
So Winston's mom, she's not the bride. I know who you're talking about. She's beautiful. I love that girl. Like I used to have like a girl crush on her when I was younger because I wanted to have blue eyes and dark hair. But anyway, and she had like nice eyebrows. But no, she is on this show. Currently, it just ended, but it's called The Americans. She plays a Russian spy. She's badass.
That's Americans with a K. Right? It's spelled with a K.
Carrie?
Americans is spelled with a K.
I don't know. I used to watch it for a while. It's good.
Oh, the other one is Carrie Russell Kimberly, and they look alike. So, interesting.
Oh, that's interesting. That is interesting. Huh. Yeah, so Carrie Russell.
You said tattoos signal sexual promiscuity.
Huh.
Evolution guys are.
Yeah, she looks like Elizabeth Taylor, Kimberly Williams. Carrie Russell was in Felicity. Yeah, it was a good show. And I think she plays a good. I don't know. In my opinion, I think the character in Felicity is an INTJ. They've gone back and forth between INTJ and INFJ, but I think she's INTJ, and a good one too.
Was there a Father of the Bride which had Elizabeth Taylor in it?
No.
Was Father of the Bride a remake?
Oh, maybe. Yeah, it might be a remake, and that's why they have the girl who looked like Elizabeth Taylor. That makes sense. Wow, thanks, Winston's mom.
So does a shirt, a tight shirt that says porn star on it. That also signals sexual promiscuity. I think. I'm pretty sure.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you see girls out with those, and
they don't
think, well, I guess she puts out. She's making it clear that she doesn't hold the same place of cherished exclusiveness that I do related to sexual contact. Okay, so email Anthrax. I really like your response to Curious Kyra's question. Curious Kyra asks, now I wonder what I'm feeling. Email Anthrax reasonably asks, are you feeling curious? Maybe. So she's definitely feeling uncertainty. Curious? Are you feeling curious, curiously uncertain, or uncertainly curious? That's the question. Which one's the adverb? Or curiously, are you feeling uncertain? It could be that way too. What couple on TV do you think was perfect? I'm going to try to answer that question too.
Me too.
What couple on TV do you think was perfect?
That's tough because I've watched a lot of TV.
Well, the couple that I always was struck by as like, I want a relationship like that was Daniel LaRusso and Elizabeth Shue in the original Karate Kid.
Yeah, they're cute.
That to me was like the film presentation of teenage relationship that I thought I want to have that you know. But it doesn't mean I thought it was the ideal relationship exactly. I'm not sure TV showed my ideal relationship ever.
I liked, and I don't. They weren't a couple, but I liked the friendship and the lovehood between Sam and Clarissa from Clarissa Explains It All in the 90s. I really liked them. Perfect couple. Perfect TV couple. It's a tough one. I watch a lot of TV.
I mean, it's weird. I always imagined a certain kind of private like shared it's like a shared dominant frame that subsumes all the other frames that both of you sustain throughout multiple contexts. So it's like at any given moment, well, if we were watching just about anything, Rachel and I can look across the room at each other and know what we're thinking about what we just are seeing on the screen, let's say.
Yeah.
I'm not saying I wanted to be like Daniel LaRusso. I'm saying I liked the way that she chose him actively to the exclusion of other people, even though other people were competing for her.
Aww.
And that she was like loyal, and it's like there's a lot of SFJ-ishness in her actually that I was sort of drawn to, I think, in that character.
Yeah.
And she understood the importance of like supporting him in the social environment as well as just and not being embarrassed by him and stuff, you know. There's something about that I think attracted me when I was a teenager.
Aww. I liked in Sex and the City, I like the relationship between Miranda and her husband and Charlotte and her husband. They're pretty like realistic. Like one's an INTJ. They're interesting relationships, and they always work them out. Like they show them in the show as having problems, and they work them out. You know, I like that. I don't like Carrie and Mr. Big because he treats her terribly. I think it's cute that I always wanted Daria and Trent to get together. But
it's weird. It's like I can't think of any clear explanation a clear example of what a relationship ought to be, but I have this kind of clear story version of it anyway in my head, and it basically involves the two parties being a team, you know, like being the top level team in each of their lives, and being good, perfect teammates, like, you know, well matched teammates where they understand the same things, they operate in the same frames of reference, lots of things like that, you know. It's holistic. It's hard to explain, I guess.
Yeah, like right now, I'm not trying to nut so hard so you could hear his words very well.
You're trying to not chew so hard, you said?
No. Right now.
Right, yeah, sure, I understand. Okay, so I gotta think more of the question of storybook or other couples that I've encountered in the world or in life that set for me an example of what a relationship ought to look like. And go ahead.
Oh, no. You continue, because I was going to talk to Winston's mom.
Go ahead. I was just going to sort of wrap it up.
Oh, Winston's mom, I would recommend it. It's a great show. It really, really is great. I think that Miranda's an INTJ, and she's really, really wow. Great character. And it's funny too. I also think it's for men, but yeah, I would look into it. Has anyone had a Mr. Big? Someone who like pushed and pulled them?
I mean, you definitely don't want to hear that your girlfriend had a Mr. Big, you know? That means that they had this person in their life in the past that still sort of will always consume them.
That was a big problem for Aiden in the show. Like a boyfriend that Carrie had. Like he was always like...
He was jealous of Mr. Big?
She's really, no, we're just friends.
You had novellas as a relationship, reference to relationships that didn't turn out well.
That happened.
For FE people, the further away you get it from FI, you think that I don't know. I'm ready to go to bed.
Yeah.
I gotta get up in the morning and take my dad to get his car serviced tomorrow.
Oh yeah.
Okay. He took me to get mine serviced today. And I'm looking forward to just lying down with my beloved Rachel and having a little FI time and going to sleep.
Me too.
But I really enjoy watching, speaking of Community, Last Thoughts on Communities, I enjoyed watching the couple of Britta and Jeff in the show Community. We're clearly INFJ, ENTP couple.
Yeah. Yeah. I think I'm
curious, Kyra, I'm pretty sure you primarily use TI over FI. If you're asking me which is your tool function, I'm going to go with TI. If you're asking which is your dominant, I'd still go with TI if I had to choose between those two, but I don't think that you're an introvert. But I don't know. It's hard to tell by what people write, you know? Never sacrifice your freedom for a girl. Have you had a relationship that ended poorly, Waldo? You feel you're taken advantage of in some capacity? That sounds like you're speaking from experience. What's the personality type of the main character in Community? ENTP. Yeah, I'd say he's ENTP. And that Britta girl's an INFJ. And of course, the difference between him and me is he's an ENTP who's an SO. He doesn't want to be in a two-person team like I do. So he's trying his best to be a good and honest person while sleeping around, which is not really conducive to being, I don't think. But that's just my opinion, whatever. All right. Good night, everybody. Good night. Sleep well. Don't let the head hugs bite.